Hello, second grade, and welcome to Unit 6, Week 3. We're going to go ahead and start with our vocabulary words. Our first word is the word important. Something that's important matters a lot, or it's something that's needed. So you can say that my friends and family are very important to me, or it's very important that I finish my assignment on time. Next, we have the word machine. A machine is a tool that's made up of a lot of different parts, and it's used to do some kind of a job or some kind of work. So there are machines, if you've ever been with your parents to take the car to get fixed, there are machines that lift the car. They use different tools to help fix different parts of the car. Next, we have the word prepare. When you prepare yourself for something, or you prepare something in general, you get ready for it, or you get something ready. So if you are preparing dinner, that means you're getting dinner ready, you're cooking it. If you are preparing for a trip, that means you're getting yourself ready by packing your bags, making sure you clean your area before you go. Next, we have the word repair. Repair means to fix something. So when something is broken, if you repair it, that means you fixed it. Our next word is the word result. A result is something that happens because something else happens. So we can say that the result of Delia's baking was a cake. So that she was baking, and the thing that she got at the end of it, because she was baking, she ended up with a cake at the end. Or you can say that the results you got on your math test were really good because you studied really hard, and you can see that after you finished all the work, after you answered all the questions, the result is the grade you got at the end. Next, we have the word scientific. Something that's done in a scientific way is done carefully, the way a scientist would do it. That means you're making sure to follow all the steps really carefully. You're writing everything down and taking notes. You're drawing pictures and diagrams as you go. So something that's done in a scientific way is done very carefully, the way a scientist would do it. Next, we have the word exploration. Exploration comes from the word explore, and it means when you're looking or searching for something. So exploration is when people are searching to learn about something new. And our last word this week is the word teamwork. So teamwork is when you and a group of people get together to work on a task and you all have the same goal. So maybe you guys use teamwork to complete a class project, or maybe you and your friends use teamwork to help clean up your local park or plant new trees. Our spelling words for this week are going to focus on the consonant LE syllables. So what these are words that have a final consonant and then an LE sound. So they have a consonant and the OL sound at the end of them. Now, there are different ways to make the OL sound that we're going to talk about. Your words, though, for this week all follow the consonant LE pattern. So you have the word lit, and then you see the word little, set and settle, rip and ripple, pad and paddle, middle, bubble, outside, replace, follow, listen, and something. So for your first 10 words, you're seeing a lot of that O sound at the end. Now we call those consonant LE syllables because you can see that there's a consonant letter and then it's followed by the LE pattern. So those letters are going to be the final syllable in your word. So when we're talking about consonant LE syllables, we're talking about the final syllable of the word having a consonant plus the O sound at the end of it. Now, a lot of your words, or all of your words for this week, have LE at the end, the consonant plus LE, but we can make that O sound different ways. So just like we had the LE with words like crumble or tangle, you can see there's a consonant LE as the final syllable in those words. We can also make the O sound with an OL, like symbol or patrol, or we can do it with an EL. So consonant and then EL, like tunnel or funnel. Or we could do consonant IL, like fossil or tonsil. Or we could do it with a consonant AL, like sandal or mammal. So if I read through all of these words, you're going to hear that same ending sound, but we have different ways that we can spell it, different ways that we can make it. So I can say tangle, thimble, funnel, fossil, sandal. You're hearing that same ul sound at the end, even though each one of those words makes that ul sound a different way. So remember, for your spelling words, you're only focusing on the consonant and LE spelling. Next, we're going to review contractions. Now, contractions we've talked about before. It's a combination of two words. So it's what happens when you take two words and you put them together. And when you put them together, you're making the word shorter. So you're going to take some of the letters out. Now, usually what happens is the first word will stay exactly the same. And the second word is the word that gets shortened. It's the word that we take some of the letters out of. Now, to take the place of those missing letters, we put what we call an apostrophe, which basically looks like a comma, but it's floating up close to the top of the letters instead of being on the line like a comma would usually be. So that apostrophe tells us that we're looking at a contraction, and it tells us that some of the letters are missing and it's taking the place of those missing letters. So in a contraction, you use an apostrophe to take the place of the missing letters. Now we can have contractions with the word not, so a word plus the word not. Now when we're adding not to our first word, we're going to replace the O in not with an apostrophe. So that's the letter we're going to take out. So when you have not added to a word, the ending is going to be spelled N''T instead of N-O-T. So do not becomes don't. So instead of spelling it D-O-N-O-T, we're spelling it D-O-N''T. So that apostrophe takes the place of the O that we left out. Same with the word did not becomes didn't, D-I-D-N''T. Is not becomes isn't, cannot becomes can't, will not becomes won't, and should not becomes shouldn't. So for all of these words, actually for most of these words with not, you're seeing that the first word stays the same and the second word is the one that's changed. Now the two exceptions in here are will not becomes won't, it doesn't become willn't, and cannot. You can see that we took out one of the N's also because can ends with the letter N and not begins with the letter N. So instead of spelling it C-A-N-N''T, they took out one of the N's as well. Now, when we're adding the word am to a word, and we only add it to the word I, so I am becomes I'm, the A in am is replaced by an apostrophe. So it's spelled apostrophe M instead of AM. So I am spelled I-A-M, but if I'm spelling I'm spelling it I''M. Now, when I'm adding is to a word, I'm going to take out the I and use an apostrophe in place of the I. So he is becomes he's, he is becomes he's. When I'm adding R to a word, I'm taking the A out and putting an apostrophe in place of the A. So if I'm adding R, instead of it being spelled A-R-E, it's going to be spelled apostrophe R-E. Now, if you look at each one of our words, I have the word that we're adding, I have the rule immediately after it in the parentheses, and then at the end, I have the spelling of how we add it at the end of the word as a contraction. So you are becomes your, we are becomes we're, they are becomes their. So instead of spelling it Y-O-U-A-R-E, we spell it Y-O-U''R-E, and the same rule applies for the other words. Next, we have the word have. So when I want to add the word have to a word, I'm not taking out just one letter, I'm actually taking out two. I'm taking out the H and the A, and I'm going to replace them with an apostrophe. So instead of it being spelled H-A-V-E as a contraction, it's going to be apostrophe V-E. So I have becomes I've, you have becomes you've, and they have becomes they've. So you can say, I've gone to the park before, you've come over to my house before, or they've helped us in the past. The last contraction we're going to work on is when we're adding the word will to a base word. Now, when I add will, it's spelled W-I-L-L, but when I use it as a contraction, I'm taking out the W-I and I'm replacing those two letters with an apostrophe. So what I end up with is apostrophe L-L. So my words will be he will becomes he'll, She will becomes steal. I will becomes I'll. You will becomes you'll. They will becomes they'll. And it will becomes it'll. Oh, there. All right, that takes us to our next subject. We're going to talk about possessive nouns. Now, I put this immediately after contractions because possessive nouns are nouns that show ownership. They show that something belongs to you. But the thing about possessive nouns is they also use an apostrophe. Now, the biggest difference is possessive nouns are not putting two words together. They're just showing that that word owns something else. So if I say the phone that belongs to Mr. Smith, I would say Mr. Smith's phone, Mr. Smith apostrophe S, and then the word phone. And that apostrophe S at the end of his name tells me that the phone belongs to him. So we're going to talk about different kinds of possessive nouns. Now, all a possessive noun is a word that shows ownership, and it tells you that something belongs to that person, place, or thing. Now, we have singular possessive nouns when we're talking about something singular, like one of something, or plural possessive nouns if we're talking about something that's owned by a group. Now, to make a singular noun into a possessive, all you do is add an apostrophe and the letter S to the end of that singular noun, even if it already ends with an S. So instead of saying the bowl that belongs to the cat, I will say the cat's bowl. That tells me CAT apostrophe S tells me that that bowl belongs to that cat. If I say the pet that belongs to our class, I would say our class's pet. So again, we just throw an apostrophe S on the end of that singular noun. Now, if we're talking about a plural possessive, and right now I'm talking about a regular plural possessive, which means a noun that you made it possessive by adding an S or an ES to the end of it. So cat becomes cats, dog becomes dogs, watch becomes watches, and so on. Those are your regular possessive, or your regular plural nouns, sorry. Now, when you have a regular plural noun that already ends with an S, you're not going to add an apostrophe and another S to the end of it. Instead, you're only going to add an apostrophe after that final S. So for plural possessive, we're looking at words, again, that already have an S at the end of them. So if I use my examples, the toys that belong to the kids, kids is already plural. It already has an S at the end of it because I'm talking about more than one. I'm talking about a group of kids. So I would say the kids' toys, so KIGS apostrophe, and then I put the words toys. Now the apostrophe after the S tells me right away that I'm talking about a group. I'm not talking about one kid, I'm talking about a group of kids. Or if I say the bikes that belong to the racers, I would say the racers' bikes, RACERS apostrophe, and then the word bike. So again, when you're seeing an apostrophe at the end with nothing after it, you know that the noun that you're working with is already a plural. Now, some important things that you need to remember. Possessive nouns show ownership, right? And they have an apostrophe S or an S apostrophe, depending on if it's singular or plural. Contractions also have an apostrophe, but their apostrophe takes the place of missing letters, and contractions combine two words. Now, we do have some possessive pronouns and some contractions that are homophones. We've talked about homophones in the past. So homophones are words that sound the same, but they have different meanings and spellings. So I'll give you a couple examples real quick, even though we've talked about these before. There and there. These are one, THEIR is a possessive noun. THEY apostrophe RE is a contraction. So this is an example of how they're homophones. They sound the same, but they have different spelling. So you have to be really careful which one you're using And in order to know which one you're using, you got to look at the rest of the sentence to figure out the meaning. So they are is THEY apostrophe RE, or THEIR is something that belongs to them. Now, next we're going to move into adjectives. So an adjective is a describing word. It's a word that tells me more about a noun. It tells me about a person, place, or thing. So adjectives can describe how many of something, what kind of something, and most of the time, the adjective will come right before the noun or the pronoun that it's describing. So if I say, I saw 5 red roses, so the number 5 and the color red are both describing the roses. They're telling me more about them. Or I can say, we enjoyed eating the green apples. So green describes the apples that we were eating. The big sunflower bloomed. Big is describing or telling me about my sunflower. Or I can say, I read 3 long books. So 3 and long both describe the books that I read. And my last example is I picked many flowers. So many describes the flowers. It's telling me that there's a lot of them. So remember, an adjective is a describing word, and its job is to describe a noun or a pronoun that comes after it. Next, we're going to talk about comparative endings. Now, we have comparative and superlative. And the difference between those, comparative is usually the ER and superlative is the EST. Now, comparative endings are usually when you're comparing 2 or more nouns. And when you're comparing just 2 nouns, that's when we add the ER. But when you're comparing more than 2 nouns, so 3 or more nouns, that's when you add the EST. So I can say Jamil is faster than his brother. Over here, I'm only comparing Jamil to his brother. Those are just 2 people. Or I can say Abdurrahman is younger than Zara. I'm comparing the age of those 2 people. I'm comparing Abdurrahman's age to Zara's age. Now, if I'm comparing 3 or more things, that's when I'm going to use my EST ending. I can say Salim is the fastest on the running team. So I'm comparing Salim to everyone else on the team. Or Fatima got the highest score in the class on her test. So I'm comparing the score that Fatima got with the score that everyone else got. So one trick to remember is if you're just looking at 2 things, ER is the word, is the ending that you're going to add. So ER is 2 letters. That's when you're comparing 2 things. EST is 3 letters. It's when you're comparing 3 or more things. Then the last thing we're going to talk about are Greek and Latin roots. So we've talked about root words before and how they have a special or unique meaning. And when we understand the meaning of those root words, it helps us to understand the whole word that we're looking at, because the root word is usually just a couple letters and it's part of a word. So when we figure out the meaning of that part, we can usually figure out the meaning of the word as a whole. So we're going to focus on Greek and Latin roots. Our first root that we're going to talk about is cred, C-R-E-D, which means to believe. So if something is incredible, that means it's not believable. You can't believe it. If you discredit something or someone, it means to distrust or to disbelieve. Or if something has credibility, that means it's something that you are able to believe. It's something that is believable. Next, we have the root da, D-U-C, which means to lead. So an educator is someone who leads in learning, like a teacher. If you introduce some people, you are leading those people to get to know each other, right? You're bringing someone, you say, hey, I want you to meet this person. Or if you have a conductor is a person who is in charge or leads a group. Next, we have the root port. Now, port means to carry. So if you transport something, you're moving it from one place to another. If you have something that is portable, that means it's something that can be moved, right? Something usually small, like a laptop computer is portable. A cell phone is portable, right? It's something you can pick up and move around. Next, we have the root spect. Now, spect means to look. So a spectator is someone who's in the audience, who's watching something, like a sporting event, or they're watching a play. They're spectators. Or you have the word inspect, which means to look at something really closely. Like if you're looking for clues, you're inspecting. Or we have the word spectacles. Now, spectacles is just another fancy way to say glasses. You use glasses to look or to be able to see. Our next root is sta, or STA. It means to stand still or something that is not moving. So it's kind of the opposite of portable. So a station is a place to work that doesn't move, right? It's set up and it stays there. Something that is standard is the set way or the normal way of doing things that usually doesn't change. It stays the same. Or if you have an obstacle in your way, it's something that is standing in your way or blocking you from doing something. And our last root is struct, which means to build. So if you construct something, it's something that was built. Destruction means to take down or destroy something that was built. Or an instructor is someone who helps to build knowledge, again, like a teacher. Next, we're going to hop into our stories, and we're going to begin with our literature anthology book. We're going to read an expository text. Remember, that means something that's going to give us facts and information, called the Astronaut Handbook. And we're going to focus on our essential question about why teamwork is important.
Genre: Expository Text. Astronaut Handbook by Megan McCarthy. Welcome to astronaut school. Soon you will be boarding a space shuttle and blasting into outer space. All different kinds of people have become astronauts. There have been teachers, painters, and even deep-sea divers. You can be an astronaut too. First, you need to decide what kind of astronaut you will be. There are astronauts who fly the space shuttles, astronauts who conduct scientific experiments, such as growing plants, and astronauts who repair satellites. Becoming an astronaut takes a lot of preparation. It's important to study hard in school. Studying isn't always easy, but stick with it. You will have to pass some tough fitness tests to become an astronaut, so suit up and start swimming. One test is to swim in your flight suit and sneakers. It's also important to be a team player. While in space, you'll be eating, sleeping, and working in very tight quarters with many other people. So be nice to your neighbor and no fighting. Now that you can work well with others, it's time for survival training. This training will help toughen you up and prepare you to live in harsh conditions. After you're both mentally and physically prepared, it's time for the real work to begin. Practice makes perfect. Those of you who have decided to become engineers will practice working with machines, much like the ones you'll use in space. Stop and check. Summarize. Summarize what you have read about so far about an astronaut's preparation. Those of you who want to be a pilot of the space shuttle will need to learn how to fly. You've done the hard stuff, and now it's time to have some fun. A special plane nicknamed the Vomit Comet will take you high in the sky and then zoom back down. As a result, you'll be able to float. It might upset your stomach, but you'll get the hang of it. You'll also need to pick the food you'd like to eat while in space. It's important to have a balanced diet to stay strong during your trip. You can even have dessert, such as freeze-dried ice cream. This is what a space toilet looks like. Light. Instructions. Dry wipes. Thigh restraint. Thigh restraint. Vacuum for solids. Foothold, foothold. Hose for liquids. And here's what your spacesuit will look like. TV camera. Portable Life Support System Backpack, or PLSS, contains oxygen, battery, and water supply. Headlamp. Helmet and visor. Flexible metal bearings allowing arms to rotate. Hard upper torso, or HUT, made from fiberglass and steel. Display and control module. Spacesuit weighs 280 pounds on Earth. Glove. Lower torso assembly, or LTA, made from soft insulation, rubber. Boot. Spacesuit has 12 layers. The 7 inside layers protect astronauts from extreme temperatures. You'll wear this suit while working outside the space shuttle. It's white to reflect the rays of the sun. It will be fitted to your exact measurements. Over 100 measurements will be taken of your hand alone. Finally, it's time to blast off. Put on your orange flight suit, worn for takeoffs and landings, and get ready to board the space shuttle. You will have to sit for as long as 3 hours before liftoff. Get ready for the ride of your life. 3, 2, 1, blast off! It's best to like small spaces. Work hard and enjoy your time in space. Stop and check. Reread. What is it like to be an astronaut in space? Genre. Expository text. Compare texts. Read about a team that climbed to the top of the world. Teamwork to the top. When Jordan Romero was 9, he saw a painting of the tallest mountains in the world. Jordan set a goal to climb each one, but he had a problem. He could not do it alone. Jordan knew what would solve his problem: a team to climb with him. His father and stepmother, experienced mountain climbers, became his teammates. The team prepares. Before climbing, the team followed an exercise plan. They ran long distances while wearing heavy backpacks and pulling tires. They developed strong bodies to prepare them for the tough climb, while forming strong bonds that would help them work together. At 13, Jordan Romero became the youngest person to climb Mount Everest. Getting to Everest. Jordan's team was ready for the dangers of exploration. Mount Everest is the world's tallest mountain. The top of Mount Everest is higher than some planes fly. At the top, there is little oxygen to breathe, which is a problem for climbers. Lack of oxygen could make them sick, so the team solved the problem by wearing oxygen masks. Jordan's team needed more help, so climbing experts called Sherpas joined them. Each expert brought something special to the team. Reaching the top. Team Jordan was on the mountain for 51 days. A rope linked the climbers together, and they worked together to stay safe. When they finally reached the summit, Jordan and his teammates celebrated. It was teamwork that helped them reach the tallest point in the world. Mount Everest. Make connections. Why was teamwork important for Jordan's explorations? How do teams work together to solve problems?
Okay, that takes us to the end of our literature anthology reading. We're going to get started next on our reading and writing worksheet. And this is another expository text called Dive Moon.
Genre. Expository text. Dive teams. Essential question. Why is teamwork important? Read about a team of divers who work together to explore a sunken ship. Imagine exploring the underwater world of the ocean. Perhaps you want to see how sea animals live, or you may hope to search for sunken ships. That is just what Gloria did. Gloria has always lived close to the sea in California. She swam and surfed at an early age. She became interested in the ocean. So Gloria became an expert diver. She decided to join a dive team to find sunken ships. What would her job be? Each job on a dive team is important. One serious job is using machines the dive team needs. Another job is to repair or fix these devices when they don't work. Gloria is an experienced photographer, so she decides to photograph what the team discovers underwater. Gloria and her team search for the sunken ship. Teamwork is important for a dive team. Team members depend on one another. They divide up the tasks, and each person helps to get the job done. Gloria's team learns about a ship that sank over 100 years ago. No one has ever found it. They decide to make a scientific study of it. The team reads information and studies a map where they think the ship sank. They are excited about their exploration. The captain, another team member, takes them by boat to their map location. He stays on the boat where he can communicate with the divers. Before the team dives, they prepare for their special jobs. To get ready, Gloria puts on her diving suit and gear and makes sure her camera is ready to take photographs. Florida, Tallahassee, Tampa, Miami. Map key. Now the divers jump into the water. As they swim deeper, it gets darker. A team member turns on a flashlight. This helps the divers see where they are going. Finally, one team member spots the ship. He uses an aquatic microphone to talk to the team. Gloria takes pictures as teammates measure the ship. Another teammate watches for sharks and other dangers. After an hour of exploring, the person with the flashlight leads the way back to the boat. The team now has important results from their discovery to share. Gloria thinks, "I will always remember this dive." The team believes the ship Gloria heard about sank near other known shipwrecks off the coast of Make connections. Why is teamwork important for exploring shipwrecks? Would you enjoy being part of a team that explores shipwrecks? Explain your answer. Summarize. To summarize what you read, use your own words to tell the most important parts of a selection. Find text evidence. After reading page 435 of Dive Teams, I can summarize what I read in my own words. Gloria has always lived close to the sea in California. She swam and surfed at an early age. She became interested in the ocean. So Gloria became an expert diver. She decided to join a dive team to find sunken ships. What would her job be? Each job on a dive team is important. One serious job is using machines the dive team needs. Another job is to repair or fix these devices when they don't work. Gloria is an experienced photographer, so she decides to photograph what the team discovers underwater. I read that there are important jobs on dive teams, and that Gloria decided to become an underwater photographer. From this, I understand that Gloria has an important job. Each job on a dive team is important. One serious job is using machines the dive team needs. Another job is to repair or fix these devices when they don't work. Gloria is an experienced photographer, so she decides to photograph what the team discovers underwater. Main idea and key details. The main idea is the most important point an author makes about a topic. Key details tell about and support the main idea. Find text evidence. As I read page 435 of Dive Teams, I learned that there are many jobs on a dive team. This detail will help me find the main idea. Graphic organizer. Detail. There are many jobs on a dive team. Expository text. Dive Teams is an expository text. Expository text gives facts and information about a topic. May have photos, captions, and maps. Find text evidence. I know Dive Teams is an expository text. It gives information about underwater teams. The text features help me learn how sunken ships are found and explored. Text features. A map is a flat picture of a part of the Earth. A map key tells you what symbols on a map mean. Greek and Latin roots. Word roots can help you understand what a new or unfamiliar word means. Many word roots come from the Greek and Latin languages. Find text evidence. I see the word divide. I'm not sure what the word means. I know that div is a Latin root that means separate. Divide must mean separate something. That makes sense. They divide up the tasks, and each person helps to get the job done.
All right, second grade, that takes us to the end of our notes and readings for this week. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have an amazing day. Take care. Bye-bye.